What up? Real Fast Podcast back at it again. I'm here, your boy Gabe. I'm here with my co-host Julian. Julian, what's up?
What's up, people? We're reaching week 15 of the NFL. Things are wrapping up. This last week was crucial for a lot of teams, and we're going to get into that. Basically, we're going to be covering everything, the playoff picture, and from the NFC to AFC. And I think we should start it off, Gabe, with the NFC, since we talked all AFC last time we were on. But let's specifically niche down to the NFC South. So looking at the NFC playoff picture, that seems to be the one of the two divisions left where it's pretty tight and it's pretty competitive. And you have the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that are pretty much left fighting because the Carolina Panthers are done. They're not coming back. And then the New Orleans Saints, who just lost Derek Carr, they're pretty much done. So it's left with two teams. Tampa getting a big win this past week, and then Atlanta taking a pretty damn big loss against the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold threw 5 touchdown passes, 300 yards. And but yeah, how do you think Tampa locks this up right here? Is Atlanta done?
I think Tampa definitely has a chance to lock it up. I had to look up to see, because there's a lot of tiebreakers that I actually like looking on the ESPN app. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it.
Yeah, so I got it right here, actually, if you want me to lay it out. So Atlanta wins tiebreak. So Atlanta's in 9th place because they win the tiebreak over Arizona based on best win percentage in conference games. Division tiebreak was initially used to eliminate San Francisco. Arizona wins the tiebreak over San Francisco based on head-to-head win percentages. But Tampa is a game ahead. Tampa is 7-6. Atlanta is 6-7, with Tampa having a 2-2 divisional record, with Atlanta having a 4-1 divisional record. So pretty much Tampa's only over Atlanta based on just general win and loss.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely, I think a lot of teams, and we're talking about teams that are like what? I think they're 7-6, what's the Atlanta's record?
Atlanta's 6-7, 6-7. Tampa 7-6.
So yeah, I think there's definitely, there's still time for movement. I mean, we're talking about sub 10 win teams, in general. But I think there is definitely a chance for Tampa to lock it up. I think I'm kind of leaning towards Tampa actually locking it up. I feel like they've had a better season than I expected, but they've been kind of up and down, where they had a couple great weeks, and then some bad losses at the end of games. So yeah, I think there's a chance for movement. But like, to me, I don't know how interesting it is, these kind of 7 and 8 win teams, because I don't think these teams are going to go that deep. Do you actually, Julian, do you think that the South is going to go deep in the playoffs? Like, we're talking about playoff spots, but are you talking Super Bowl?
I'm not talking Super Bowl. So I'm going to say right here, I got Tampa cleaning it out. I think Atlanta has just progressively started to get worse as the season goes on. Same thing with Kirk Cousins. He started off super hot and strong at the beginning of the season, and they just kind of fizzled out. And the way that they've looked, especially defensively, I mean, the fact that they got beat down like they did against the Minnesota Vikings has just I've lost all hope in the Falcons. And I think a lot of the fan base has too, versus Tampa is a team I've always been high on. Tampa, for the most part, when they're healthy, they can compete with anybody. I think they can beat anybody. They're talented on both sides of the ball. They're just a more complete team, in my opinion. And because of that, I have Tampa winning. And also, too, Tampa's last 4 games is the Chargers, which is going to be a tough one. That could be a toss-up game. But then after that, you have the Cowboys, Panthers, and Saints.
All winnable.
3 layups.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, and Tampa could win the Chargers game, because I still believe Tampa could probably beat anybody. I think they have the capability to. It's just a matter of remaining consistent. I do know they suffered a lot of injuries throughout the year.
Yeah.
But I like what I've seen in the run game from Bucky Irving. And obviously you got the 2 guys on the outside, and Godwin and Mike Evans.
Wow.
So yeah. So I like Tampa closing this out. I just think Atlanta has just kind of lost. I think they've just lost that oomph that you need to get over it. And then let me pull up Atlanta's last 4 games just to double check.
And just real quick,
But
because while you look for that stuff, we didn't you like to talk about injuries and stuff, but we didn't talk about it today. But Bucky Irving, the rookie quarterback, had back tightening, so there's very questionable if he's going to play in that Chargers game. But he's been very good for them. From what I've seen, that I talked earlier this season about the Tampa Bay running game, how I'm very high on them. These are great pairs, so he's definitely going to be out, and that'll
they're deep,
affect their chances. Yeah.
I mean, they got like 3 guys that can really rotate and play well. So the Falcons have a pretty easy schedule as well. They have the Raiders, the Giants, Commanders. This is going to be a tough game. They probably lose, and then the Panthers. So to me, the only realistic chance that Atlanta has is if they win out, and then you hope, pretty much win out and then you hope how the cards fall as they may with the Buccaneers probably losing to the Chargers, and maybe they get some crazy upset loss against like the Panthers and stuff, because the Panthers seem to be, even though they're still losing, they're starting to look a little better. But yeah, I mean, I think it's Tampa's lose. And now, as for, do I think any of these teams can make it far? I don't think Atlanta can, but I think Tampa. We saw that. What was it? Was it last year or the year before last? Tampa made it to a championship game, and they shocked a lot of people. I believe they beat Philly, I want to say, one year. And then, gosh, was it last year or this year? Man, NFL, I swear, these seasons just go by so fast. But I think they could compete. I don't see why not. I mean, you're in divisional games, so you win the division. You're playing a game at home. And if they play at home, that means they're going to be going against, realistically, the Vikings, which that's going to be a tough game. But obviously, I would pick the Vikings like over Tampa in that playoff game. But I mean, when you're at home, I think Tampa has enough talent to potentially win a game. They're not the favorites, but I think it's possible. I think it'd be a major disappointment if you're a Minnesota fan if you lose at Tampa. But the fact that you're at home, and I think you have the talent around Baker to do what you can do, I think it's possible. Now, do they make a continuous run? Like, I don't know if they get over that next hump of like beating either the Packers or the Lions, but that's kind of where I'm at with them. I mean, do you think if the Bucs were to advance, because I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like you feel the same way with the Falcons, where like if the Falcons get in, they're not going to do much. But yeah, I think that, I don't know if you feel that way.
Just to back up what you're saying off of Pro Football Reference, it was blending together because they did beat the Eagles in 2023. They beat the Eagles and lost to the Lions, and they beat the Eagles in the wild card and lost to the Lions. And then 2021 they beat the Eagles but lost to the Rams in 2021.
So they beat the Eagles twice. Okay,
yeah,
I knew it was
in the wild card. Yeah, twice in the wild card. Damn. But yeah, I mean Tampa, and here's the thing too. Tampa, one thing I do like to look at, because we're talking about the NFC South division, I do like to look at point differential, and they're the only one in the division with a positive point differential, with plus 54. Everybody else is -2, -55, -155. So obviously they're scoring more than they're defending, and we've seen, Baker has kept them in games, especially at end of games. We've seen last game heroics where it seems like he's the only one playmaking and keeping them in the game. So there's definitely potential there. I'm not saying they're a horrible team. They're a team that I wasn't looking out for. And Julian, based on your recommendation, I started watching more games. I'm like, they have talent. They have talent there. I don't know if they're Super Bowl. This is a Super Bowl defending team, but they're obviously top of their division. Maybe they make some noise. Maybe they make surprises, because all you have to do is win a game, right? We're not talking about series or anything. Maybe depending on injuries at home, you have an easier schedule. Like I said, the Chargers game is going to be tough, but generally going to be easier than most heading into the season. So I can see them locking it up a playoff spot. I don't think there's be any movement.
Yeah, and to a point, to also mention that the Atlanta Falcons are on a 4-game losing streak. They were 6-3. They're now 6-7, which they're doing classic Atlanta things. I don't know if you remember. There was like a year, I think it was maybe 2016 or 2015 or something. They were like 8-0, and then they lost like the entire season. Gosh, if you're an Atlanta fan, let us know in the comments down below. But I remember that, or 6-0 or something like that, and they like completely lost every game after that. So, man, it's rough being an Atlanta fan, because it's like almost like they give you that little bit of hope, and then they just like.
Well, I mean, that's what Kirk was supposed to do. That's what he's supposed to do. He's big hope, that big contract.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I'm curious what's going to happen next year, and it's a conversation for down the road. But if Michael Penix is going to step into those shoes as a starting quarterback, but anyways, let's move on to just let's say the NFC playoff picture as a whole. So it looks like I'm curious what you think. To me, I don't see much movement happening here outside of what's going to happen in the NFC West. So right now, the NFC West, you have the Seattle Seahawks, which had a big win over the the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
So the Seahawks are now 8-5. Arizona is 6-7. Los Angeles Rams are 7-6. And then San Francisco 49ers are 6-7. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers season is pretty much over. I don't know if they necessarily have the juice to get ahead. And I mean, you're hoping a lot out of the Seattle Seahawks, but the Rams are only one game behind. And after the game we saw this past week against the Bills, which I'm sure you saw was an absolute thriller of a game, an incredible game by both sides of the ball. That to me seems to be the only spot that is left, because I think the Commanders are pretty much locked in that 7th seed. I'd be kind of surprised. I mean, there's a chance for the Rams to sneak into that 7th seed, but I don't really see the Commanders losing that spot personally, especially if I'm looking at the rest of their season. They have the Saints, they have the Eagles, which is a tough one, but then they got the Falcons and Cowboys. So I expect the Commanders to probably hold that down. But if you want to throw those in there, then if you want to throw the Commanders in there, outside of that, I would say there's really only 3 teams that can be a movement, and only one of them is not going to make it. And that would be the Seahawks, Commanders, and Rams. But yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think the Rams could sneak in either to that wild card or maybe even sneak into the division as the division champs?
I think it's definitely possible. I think this is one of the better teams. Again, I like looking at point differential to see how teams are doing, like how they compare. It's definitely possible for the Rams. I think as far as the NFC West, it's been a surprise. I think the Seahawks have been a surprise. I mean, a complete implosion this season. I think ton of injuries, man. 49ers have been dealing with a ton of injuries. They've had high hopes. These are one of the teams that I thought at the beginning of the year was going to go deep, but just every week, like it seems like they just have nagging where players are off the field.
They're just losing close games.
Yeah, losing close games on the road. They haven't played particularly well. So yeah, man, kind of a tough season for the 49ers. I still have hope for them, maybe next year healthier. So I can see them dropping out, and I definitely see movement upwards. Maybe I'm trying to see who's on the bubble. I think the NFL has a better standing, but yeah, I can see the Seahawks locking that up, and maybe some upward movement from LA.
Okay, so I think it's going to come down to the final game of the week. So the Rams, I'm looking at the last few games are going to be quite tough, but it's going to be a good opportunity for them to boost their division record. They have the Niners this week. Then after that, you got the Jets, which you should win. Then you got the Cardinals and then the Seahawks to end out the season. So I'm going to say it's going to come down to that final week.
Yeah, and I hate those weeks people start sitting down and there's bad teams who have nothing to play for. They'll fuck up your season. You know what I mean? They'll.
In this case, I think it's gonna be a NFC West divisional championship game. I think that's how it's gonna come down to, because I can see if the Rams can continue on this path that they are and the way that they're playing, because the Rams also suffer from quite a few injuries, but getting Cooper Kupp and Nakua, or is it Nakua, right?
Yeah.
Them two working together and now both on the field, it's going to be pretty scary over there in LA. And with Matt Stafford dealing like he did, and if they can continue on this path and this consistency of where they're at offensively, man, they could be a really scary team. And I think that just like with Tampa, they have the capability to potentially beat anybody. I think on both sides, with what they have on both sides of the ball. So if you can get over that hump with the Niners game at San Francisco, which I think is possible, which I think they should if they really want to, they have to, in my opinion. because you got to win out pretty much. I think if they're the Rams to get in, because I don't know if Seattle's going to give you enough room to really. Seattle's not going to give it to you, so you got to win at Seattle. Oh no, actually, they're going to be at SoFi that final game of the week, so that's going to be really fun. I'm curious to see how this thing shakes out towards the end. I do like Seattle in general, though. If I was a betting man, I'll probably bet on Seattle to close it out because I've liked what I see from them defensively, especially in the secondary. They're a big reason that kind of we saw the struggles in Kyler Murray this past week. So yeah, man, I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this NFC West shapes out, and I genuinely think it's going to come down to that final week. And you know, if you put a gun to my head, I think the Rams are going to do it, man. I think they're going to do it. Obviously, it's in Seattle Seahawks' destiny. The fate is in their hands. They have the opportunity to close it out. But I feel like something's happening because there's been a lot of games lately where we've seen Seattle play it really close and probably closer than it should have been.
Yeah.
In some situations. So, but I just feel like the Rams running hot right now. I like them, man. I think they're going to sneak in. I know you might think I'm crazy, and I know you're a big Geno guy, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like outscoring, I'm trying to look to see what is probably the biggest game that they had. They haven't had maybe the man. I'm looking maybe San Francisco. They lost San Francisco on Thursday Night Football, 36-24. What is their What is their blowout game? I can't even think. Besides
that's the thing, and they've been kind of in and out of injuries lately. But like when they're playing well, that's the thing. When I see this Rams team, when they're playing well, they're playing damn well.
Yeah.
You know, they started off the season super slow. They were 1-4. I'm looking at now against some pretty bad teams, but they've gone on one hell of a stretch, really. I mean, okay, you beat the Raiders. They did beat the Vikings. They beat the Seahawks. They lost the Dolphins. They beat the Patriots. They lost the Eagles. And then you beat the Saints and you beat the Bills. So it's just kind of like they've been on a pretty good. So they're 6-2 in the last 8 games.
Which is good. I mean, that's a good run.
And I think if, I mean, obviously that Cardinals blowout in the beginning of the season, that's not the same team that they are now. No. You know what I mean? And then same thing with the Bears. Like, that's not the same team. They play the Bears today. It's a different game. Like, let's be real. So, yeah, man. Interesting. So we'll see how that shapes out. So that leaves pretty much. So are you kind of with me on this train of that the Commanders are going to lock it up? You don't see any major blunders coming from the Commanders. You think they're just going to pretty much coast out in that 7th seed?
Yeah, I think they're high enough. And like I said, I think if you win 10 or more, I think you're pretty much solid. It's like all these 8 and under teams that are, I mean, that's where I think a lot of movement's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm kind of with. I mean, gosh, it'd be incredible. I mean, that'd be a catastrophic ending if they get knocked out and they go on like a 3-game skid. But yeah, so let's move over to the AFC. So the AFC, I think, gets a little bit more interesting in terms of the wild card race because kind of like we talked about in our last episode where, the top seem kind of locked up. I don't see too much movement. Like there is the possibility of what we see in the AFC South where the Colts have actually been a little better than we might have expected. They're only 2 games behind the Houston Texans, but I don't really see them really catching up to the Texans. I'd be kind of surprised if we saw something like that, but let me pull up the standings for the AFC. And then, so Kansas City and Buffalo pretty much locked in. They do have Buffalo has a tiebreaker over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's 10-3, but we can safely say Pittsburgh's probably going to make the playoffs. I see them winning the division. I don't think they lose that lead. Houston is 8-5. Baltimore 8-5. Chargers 8-5. Denver 8-5. Indianapolis 6-7. So Indianapolis is the only team that could sneak in. So my thing is not so much anybody else getting in, which is possible. I mean, your Dolphins are still in there. It's not, you can't lose hope. They're still in there.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But okay, so and then outside of that, the outside looking in, you have the Colts 6-7, Dolphins 6-7, Bengals 5-8. Now, out of those 3 teams, Do you see any of one of them sneaking in, or do you think the 4 through 7 is locked?
I think 4 through 7 looks kind of like. I think it's easier. I think we talked about this kind of with the Ravens and the Steelers. I think 4 through 7 is kind of locked down. I don't see any major movement out of those spots. I think those bottom teams are going to stay right around where they are right now. Without looking at the schedule again, I don't have all 4 teams schedule. But yeah, I think it pretty much locked up. Colts. If you look on the NFL website, they have Colts 27% chance. They're on the bubble, but they have a 20% chance of playoffs, and the Dolphins have a 13% chance. And I honestly think the Dolphins are going to drop off. It's a little bit too high. I take the under on 13% for the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because I think even if you're the Dolphins and the Colts, it's almost like, man, if you winning out may not even be enough.
No,
I mean, it may not. Going 10-7 may not be enough to get into the playoffs because with the positions that the Broncos, Chargers, and Ravens are, like, are they going to lose 3 more games? That's or because I don't even think Dolphins really have any tiebreakers at the moment. So
no, and the Colts have an advantage over the Dolphins. I think they have a head-to-head. I think.
Yeah, Colts have the head-to-head. So it's just a little too late for your Dolphins, in my opinion. I mean, I was holding out hope for you, man.
No, man. You were holding out hope when I didn't have no hope. So I don't know why you were holding it for me. You were holding a bag that I did not need.
How would you feel about a 10-7 season, though?
I would feel pretty good. I mean, I'd feel better if you told me you had a season with Tua not, sitting out. If we had 10-7 with Tua, I'd be like, oh, that's okay. But here's the thing: they kind of set the precedent with Tua. Like, we've seen them make playoff run, right? Make a playoff run. This team was made for the playoffs. This team was made to compete. So I think was it the canary in the coal mine was that Bills game like early in the season. I think that was losing that early. I was like, oh well, this is bad. And then Tua gets hurt. He's out for a couple weeks. We see Skylar Thompson playing for a couple games, and
easily the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life.
So yeah. As far as my Dolphins, there's no. I lost hope weeks ago, so I don't know why we're talking about this. I gave up on the season. I just want these guys to get healthy and get back. I don't know what's going to happen as far as contracts. I have to look into who's up and how they're going to make movements. But I know, Dolphins, no way. They're not in charge of their destiny. Like, they lost that ability a couple weeks ago, right? Like 4 or 5 weeks ago. They lost there. So, the teams to look at is the teams who are in control of their destiny. Obviously, if you win, you're in. So you don't want to be one of these teams where you have to have, the Jets have to lose by 77 points, and then you have to wait for a loss by. It's like you don't want to do that math. When you're doing that math, you're losing, buddy. That's not a team you want you don't want to be in the playoffs when you're doing. I hope this other team lose math. You know what I mean?
Okay, so now let me ask you this. Do you see – so if you don't think Indianapolis – because I think the only way Indianapolis gets in is through division. I can't imagine all 4 teams completely blundering and then Indianapolis gets in. So let's say Houston's locked in at 4, which I think that's probably safe to say.
And Houston, I think let me look at Houston's schedule. I think they can lose next week. I don't know who they're playing next week, but I think there's a chance they're playing a tough team. But go ahead.
Here, I'll actually look up the Houston thing right now.
Houston's playing.
Houston has
Dolphins, and they play at the Chiefs.
Yeah, Houston has at Dolphins, Chiefs, and Ravens. Baltimore on Netflix, and then they end the game at Tennessee. So, man,
those are a tough schedule. I mean,
the Houston could lose all 4 of those. Not Tennessee at the Tennessee. I mean, Houston could at least lose 3 games right there.
At least two. 2 of them are gonna be tough.
Damn, that's actually interesting because I've been, and not just because I'm a Jags fan, but I haven't been the highest on Houston. I've thought that there's a lot of games they shouldn't have won that they've kind of given away, and somehow they still managed to get by because of the mistakes of the other team, or even games where they just didn't look great. I mean, I haven't seen a ton from them, but man, I looking at that schedule, that's kind of scary. I mean, and 2 games might be all that Indy needs when you think about it.
At least to get
I mean,
close.
they lose.
I mean,
if they lose to Miami and Kansas City, and let me pull up Indianapolis' schedule.
Yeah, so I was looking up next right now because I didn't know that there's a schedule.
Let me see how favorable theirs is. Man, they got a pretty favorable schedule. Yeah. They got
Jacksonville.
Denver.
I see the Giants.
10. You got 3 of the worst teams in the league, so they get over that hump. They have to win out first off. I think
that Denver game is going to be important. That's an important game.
That Denver game is very, very important. I don't necessarily see them winning it. I think Denver is just too good, in my opinion. But
that's their playoff. That's their playoff game right now. They're playing playoff in week 15.
Yeah, you can get over that hump. I mean, I don't want to hype up Indy fans too much, but damn, Tennessee, New York, and Jacksonville. I mean, you're looking at that and you're like,
compared to Houston, like I said, Houston can drop, tough schedule. Indy can go up, easy schedule, and that Denver game is going to be important for them if you're a Colts fan.
Yeah, this Sunday. Yeah, I mean, gosh, that is a super, super important game. Man, you want to know how low how the ticket prices are at the New York Giants game? It's at New York.
Oh my God!
Guess how much?
$10. I'm looking at the same
on
thing.
the money. Oh, you see? Oh, yeah.
The same thing.
That is wild. I've never seen it.
It's gonna be cold and snowing. Nobody wants to sit out there. Come on, bro. Who knows what the weather is gonna be like?
That is wild. I've never seen an NFL game go for $10. Well, man, if you're struggling for money and you want to go see an NFL game,
I say donate it to a homeless person. I mean, it's Christmas. Be generous with your charity. Yeah. Don't go to the Giants game. Donate to it.
It's like a Make-A-Wish
Buy
foundation.
some soup for a hungry person.
It's like a Make-A-Wish foundation. I'm going to take you to nosebleed games at the New York Giants. Go live out your fantasy. Oh, man. But, okay, so let's move to 5 through 7 then. So do you see any movement? Do you see Denver getting to 5, Chargers going down to 7, or Chargers going up to 5? Like, because it seems like anything can kind of happen. Everything's based off tiebreakers. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and then obviously, I think if you're in that wild card race, you want to get 5. I think you want to get Houston because Houston is going to be probably your easiest path to winning that game and probably. I don't want to trash on the fan base, but like, it's not like you're playing at Pittsburgh in the freezing cold or Buffalo in the freezing cold or Kansas City. Like, that's a very favorable, like, all right, you want to get 5. You want to play in a dome. You want to play in not a super hostile place because, God, you don't want to go to Heinz Field or Buffalo or Kansas City, especially what we saw in Buffalo, not this last week, but the week before last, where it was just pouring snow. Can't even see. So, what do you think? How do you think that plays out for these?
Like I said, maybe Houston can drop. Like I said, they got a pretty tough schedule. So obviously, there's a flip. There's a head-to-head right now on the 4 and 5. So that straight. I mean, somebody's gonna drop. Somebody has to drop. Somebody's gonna flip. But I can see Houston dropping, maybe to that 7, maybe. Depending.
Well, that would require a lot. So that means you have Indy getting in because the winner AFC South.
Maybe, like I said, maybe next week. Like I said, Indy, Denver, maybe it's possible, man. We can see some flips, but I don't think we're going to see flips at the top. I think the top 3 are pretty much going to stay the same. It's going to be this 4 through 7. That's going to be all right.
So say the winner. I still think if that 5 seed is desirable. If you're the Chargers or Baltimore, let's say like your chances to win in the division are done. Especially if you're the Chargers, like it's already locked up. Like you're not winning the division. And same thing for Denver. So your best spot is 5, which means if Indy pulls off the miracle and Houston completely just fumbles the bag, it doesn't matter either way. You're playing in a dome. And you're playing against not a super powerhouse team. I personally think, and I'm going to have to pull up the schedules here just to double check and make sure. I think Chargers are going to sneak into that 5th spot. And I think if you're the Chargers, you're only advancing if you're in that 5th spot. I just have a hard time. Then again, if Chargers drop to 7, I mean, we can make an argument that the Chargers should have won that game this past week because Kansas City sold their souls to the devil or whoever to be the record that they have. So I could look the AFC West teams. They have a chance to beat Kansas City. I think both the Chargers and Denver, you could say they should have beat Kansas City in their matchups. So I'm not afraid of them. But
see this Chargers game. Now I'm looking at the Chargers schedule. Chargers play Tampa, and they will play Denver Thursday night. So Denver now look at the Chargers schedule. I see they play Denver Thursday night. Now I'm going to look at the Denver schedule to see who the hell they play. So obviously we know they play the Colts, they play the Chargers, they play Cincinnati, and they play Kansas City. Tough schedule,
man.
Tough. They're playing the playoffs, week 15, baby.
Oh,
Denver. Am I going to be watching Denver for the rest of the season? I have to watch all these games. I have to watch all these games. I'm watching Denver games. I haven't seen Denver.
This is making it so tough.
Denver, Denver. The season's all about Denver.
But you know what though? Denver's heating up. Denver looks good. Like I don't know. The last few times, like I watched Denver in the granted they didn't look the best defensively against the Browns game. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that game. That Browns game, they didn't look the best defensively, but throughout the season, Denver's been pretty damn good on defense. And now with the offense starting to heat up the way they are. But man, this thing makes really interesting. Now that only leaves the Baltimore ends the season. And I want to say Baltimore has a path. And that's not going to be easy.
Like I said, they have a head at Houston, so they're going to flip. Would that 4 and 5 could flip, or it could stay the same? I don't know.
Well, 4 and 5 can't flip. 4 and 5, 4 can only flip if Indianapolis wins.
And like I said, it's going to the division. Denver, man. All arrows point to Denver. Denver, the end of the season, these next 4 games, they're playing playoff football right now. They're playing for their lives. Denver.
All right, so Baltimore has the Giants, which is a win, but then they're playing Pittsburgh at home. Then they're playing Houston on Christmas Day at Houston, which that's going to be an important game. And then they end the season with Cleveland, which I'm beyond. Cleveland is a tough 3-10 team. Like Cleveland has put up some battles.
You believe in the miracle of Jameis?
The Pastor Jameis? No, I don't believe. But no, but they're tough. Like I mean, like what I've seen from Cleveland these past few weeks. I mean, they looked pretty rough this past week, but man, they have like put some teams like through the ringer on some of these games. I mean, like I said, that Denver game from 2 weeks ago in particular. Like that thing came down to the end. And look, I'm just saying that Cleveland game is not a layup. I think that Cleveland game is that could be a trap game.
I hate week 17.
That's a trap game.
End of the season games because people start sitting and teams got nothing to play for.
Baltimore's not sitting. And I don't think the only teams that are sitting are teams that are locked in, which you're probably going to get. Honestly, no. I mean, I guess we'll see as time goes on. I mean, Kansas City is the only realistic team that would probably sit because Baltimore. I mean, because Pittsburgh and Buffalo at the top at 2 and 3. There's there's probably home field advantage at play for those teams. You know what I mean? Like I mean, I think everybody kind of has something to play for. I mean, the only team that probably would be Kansas City because they just locked up that number 1 slot. Like maybe they don't lose for the rest of the game up to week 18. And then week 18 is like, all right, we have a 2-game lead over Buffalo. Like we're stuck at 1. Like that's, you know what I mean? So, but outside of that, I mean, everybody's going to be playing for something. And obviously if you're eliminated, they're going to be playing starters. They're not benching, they're not phone. No, nobody does that. So, and I think Jameis is going to want to. So, man, this is okay. So, team we haven't talked about, Bengals. They're done?
I think so, man. They haven't convinced me. Like, they've been playing better, I guess, as the season's gone along, but I'm not convinced on the Bengals. I'm not. Sold. Yeah,
I think it's too little too late. There's just not it's. I feel so bad for Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase. Especially, I mean, Joe Burrow is just week in and week out. It's just like you could see the frustration on his face just build of just getting so annoyed of like dropping like 30 plus points a game, 300 yards, whatever, this absurd numbers, and just still can't win games. So I think it's just not in the cards. But man, this is gonna be fun. Like you said, Denver, man.
All
That's an
arrows point to
important
Denver,
team.
bro. Denver is the keystone. We're talking about whatever Baltimore. Everything points to Denver because they're playing 2 games straight up that they can flip. Indy might drop them, maybe. We don't know. So they play. Indy might drop them, but they got a head-to-head. Then we start looking at the other stuff. Then we start looking at Baltimore, Houston.
Well, you also look at Denver too because we also got to look at divisional record as well, especially if we're talking about placement between the Chargers and Broncos.
I mean, that's for ties, though. I mean, you think if they're playing straight up, that's for ties, though. I mean, you know what I mean? Like once you be at a head-to-head, that's it. You're going to drop. You're talking about ties in between lower teams.
Okay, so Chargers won the first game against Denver, right? So I think because it's all depending on matchup. So because would you rather play Buffalo or would you rather play Pittsburgh?
I'd rather play Pitt.
I feel like I would rather play Pittsburgh.
I'd rather play Pitt.
I mean, Pittsburgh has had games where they don't even score a touchdown. They score like 6 field goals.
Then they score like 12. They won with like 12 points. Something like that.
Yeah, Russell Wilson threw like, which
that was the game. Yeah, they won without.
He looked horrible. Yeah. So, I mean, I just think you don't want to play at Buffalo. So everybody's fighting not to be 7 because for 100%, Gabe, it's going to be a night game and it's going to be so much fucking snow you can't see 10 feet in front of you. Like in mid-January, no one wants to play that game. I don't know who's the best. Honestly, the best team who could take on Buffalo would probably be Baltimore because I like what they've done. I mean, they're the best rushing team in the league, and then one of the best offenses in the league. If anybody can take them on, obviously they might not want to play Buffalo again because last time they played Buffalo earlier this season, they got obliterated. So maybe if you're Baltimore, you're like, you want to stay away from that. But realistically, they're the best team to go against that with what they have, with maybe not having to have to throw the ball. But okay, so let's do this then. You're Denver. You're Denver. Where do you want to play? What seed do you want to be at?
I want to go up. You don't want to be in the bottom. Like I said, you don't have to head-to-head with Indy. You want to be at like 4. You want to be at 4?
They can't be at Gabe. We've gone over this, man. They can't be at 4.
But look,
only divisional winners.
Baltimore plays Pittsburgh.
Kansas City. Gabe, Kansas City won the division. They can't go to 4. You've watched football for decades, man. You know this. I don't know. So
then you have to hit that 5. You're gonna have to hit that 5. I'm looking at movement. I'm like, there can be movement. There can be movement at 3 and 4. But okay, you want to be at 5 then. If you can't go to 4, you can't be at 5. That's as high as you can get. Right?
All right.
You saying I can't go to 4?
All right. Does Pittsburgh get upset by any 3 of these teams?
They can. Did you see who Pittsburgh playing? They play the Eagles, NFC though. They play at Baltimore. They play Kansas City. Those are 2 teams that are playoff teams. Steelers can't drop.
Wait, hold on.
Baltimore. This is what I'm telling you. Pittsburgh can drop. Baltimore can go up because Baltimore is going to be playing Houston and Pittsburgh. So Baltimore can go up or go down. Who knows? I honestly think Baltimore is better than the Steelers, but the Steelers have been playing pretty well. There could be movement there. There could be movement at 3 and 4. There could be movement between 3 and 5, maybe.
Man, Steelers do have a fucking they got a road.
You got to play Kansas City and you got to play Baltimore. I mean, there could be movement. You can drop or you can stay. I don't know.
Are they playing at Baltimore? Damn, they're playing at Baltimore. Man, you got Philly, Baltimore, Kansas City, and the Bengals, which the Bengals is a game you could lose.
Yeah. Philly's playing tough right now. You know, the NFC. I mean, it's going to count on their win record.
Gosh, all right. Yeah, all right.
Not a conference.
All right, but we'll end it there on this topic. But, like, man, that is one. It's going to be really interesting. And there's a lot of really, really good matchups. The script is coming out perfect. Just the way to kind of get you excited. But then it's going to be an M. Night Shyamalan twist and like who knows, the Dolphins sneak in and get in.
That's not happening.
Just kidding.
Don't believe
all
that.
this just for somehow the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl again because they sold their soul to the devil. You know, I don't know what they did, but
they find ways. Somehow they win.
I don't know if we want to know.
It's a missed kick. There's a block.
The worst 12-1 team I've ever seen. The worst. Oh man.
They find ways to win somehow.
All right, let's move over to our picks and preview for the next week, which is week 15. All right, let's pull this up here
so I can see because I don't see the numbers yet.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah, man, lots of movement, man. I'm telling you, dude. All arrows point to Denver.
This is gonna be super.
Watch that game.
Denver single-handedly will cause a ton of movement. And I think Pittsburgh will too. All right. So let's start it off, man. NFC West, team that we're talking about. This is a big game for them this Thursday night. LA's got to win, in my opinion. We have the LA Rams at the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco is -2.5 as the favorites. LA is +2.5 as the dogs.
I find it hard to believe that the 49ers are favorites. Give me the Rams. I think the 49ers are banged up. Give me the Rams.
I'm going to go Rams here. I like the Rams. Like you said, San Francisco banged up, but LA's healthy. LA's getting healthy. I think I'm telling you, I feel really good about the Rams. I hope I'm right as the weeks go on. I think the Rams sneak in to the division. I think it's going to be week 18 banger. LA versus Seattle for the division. I'm going LA here. All right, Washington Commanders at the New Orleans Saints. Washington -7.5, New Orleans +7.5 as the home dogs. Washington got to close it up, finish out the season strong.
I hate that -7. Give me a half one. I hate -7, but I can see the Commanders winning by like 9 or more. I think that's possible.
But you got Saints +7. I think Commanders covered.
Commanders win completely 9 or more.
Okay, so you got I got me too. I got Commanders covering here. I think Commanders win by like 10. I think it's going to be pretty. I think it might be this game has a potential to be a bloodbath.
Yeah. I feel better about it if it was like 6.5 or something, but whatever.
All right, we got Cincinnati Bengals at the Tennessee Titans. Cincinnati -4.5. Tennessee +4.5 at home as the home dogs. I like the Bengals here. Tennessee looks awful. I didn't even watch the Tennessee game. That ended 10-6. No. And it was like 3-6 for a long ass time. It was 3-6 going into the fourth quarter. And that was against the Jags. So with Mac Jones playing at quarterback. So as much as I've ripped the Bengals for their defensive woes, the Tennessee is not going to stand a chance against what Cincinnati's going to bring them. They're going to light them up.
Yeah, give me the Bengals. Bengals easy.
All right, we got a pivotal playoff matchup. We got Miami Dolphins at Houston. You're laughing, but I'm serious. Look, Houston could end the season this game. Houston could drop this game. And yeah, if Miami loses, like that's season. I mean, you can pretty much say like that's it. So this is must win. This Miami Dolphins playoff game. And then a very important match for Houston in terms of the seeding. But Houston -2.5 at home. Miami Dolphins +2.5. Gabe, who do you got?
My Miami Dolphins heart died in week 11, but it'll end week 15. It'll end this week. Give me Houston.
All right, you think Houston closes it out?
Yeah.
I think Dolphins are hot, man. I think they're streaking. I like the Dolphins here. I think they
barely beat the Jets. They barely. The Jets could have easily won that game. We didn't talk about the game preview, but the Jets could have easily won that game.
Yeah, I agree. But they also looked good weeks prior. I mean, the Dolphins are on a 4-game win streak, I want to say. I don't know. Like I said, Houston hasn't been super impressive either. I like the Dolphins here. I think the Dolphins pull off the upset. I think they win. So, all right, you got Houston. I got Dolphins. All right, next game, we got Kansas City at Cleveland. Is Cleveland going to get it done?
Absolutely not. Chiefs easy.
All right, so mind you, it is
Jameis magic.
Cleveland +4.5, Chiefs minus 4.5. Now, let me tell you something. Isn't that spread insane for considering the records of both teams? Browns 3-10, Chiefs 12-1, and the spread is only 4.5. That's a testament to both teams. Cleveland being better than what the record is, and Chiefs not being as good as what the record is. But yeah, I'm gonna have to say, dude, the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs win. I mean, you never know what Browns you're gonna get. All right, we got the battle for the number 1 overall pick. We got Dallas Cowboys at the Carolina Panthers. Carolina minus 2.5. Cowboys plus 2.5. I'm actually going to go Panthers here. I thought the Panthers looked really solid against the Eagles this past week, which obviously Eagles is a playoff team 100%. And I think there's moments where you look at this Panthers team in the past few weeks, while I haven't obviously watched a ton of them, but like I've sat down and, caught what I've got. And I like the Panthers, man. I think they look pretty strong. I think they're going to win this game, especially at home. I think they're finally going to get over that hump that they haven't been able to for a while now.
Didn't they have a major injury? Like Hubbard was out for the season or something? They had some kind of major injury. I haven't watched a ton of Carolina Panther games, but this is a boo-boo bowl.
There's not much to what.
Yeah. Cowboys.
I'm hoping for the Panthers to win.
I mean, Cowboys.
Oh, Cowboys win on the road.
But I honestly don't care. Cowboys win. Enjoy whatever, Jerry.
All right. Another battle between 3 and 10 teams.
Oh, another boo-boo bowl.
See, but you know what? What's funny? For all these banger games that we have for the end of the season, that means
a lot of shit games.
All the shitty games all the shitty teams are going against each other because we have all the good teams playing against each other. So we got the New York Jets at the Jacksonville Jaguars. New York is minus 3.5 as the road favorites. Jacksonville's plus 3.5 as the home dogs. I'm gonna go New York here. They have so much, even though they lose these games that they should win, and then just nothing can go right for them. They are way more talented than what the Jaguars are right now. Like the Jaguars can never put up 33. They struggled to put up 33 points with Trevor Lawrence in the game, let alone Mac Jones. So I got the Jets here.
Yeah, give me the Jets, even though I'm going to be rooting for the Jaguars. I mean,
oh, look at you. You bleed teal, Gabe?
Yeah.
All right, we got the we got the Baltimore Ravens at the New York Giants. Baltimore minus 14.5. New York plus 14.5.
That's a lot of points.
Man, that's a lot of points.
14.5. They need 14.5. Give me the Ravens. I think the Ravens win straight out. I don't know what offensive weapons
you got that 14.5.
You really believe in Tommy DeVito like that?
That's just scary, man. From a bet,
that's a lot of points. That's a lot of points.
I'll say this: I wouldn't bet on the game.
Yeah,
I wouldn't bet on it. To the fans out there,
but if I had to,
points.
If I had to, just give me the Ravens.
If I had to, I could see the Ravens win this by 17. The Giants are a really bad football team, like a really bad. Like they might be the worst. Like it's a battle between the Raiders, the Giants, and the Carolina Panthers. I think Jacksonville has talent, and same thing with the Jets. And shit, you can even say the same thing about the Patriots, but the Giants, Raiders, and Panthers are really bad. But yeah, if I had to, I'm going to say Baltimore. I think that's the more likely scenario.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. Indianapolis Colts at Denver. This was a big matchup.
This is a game to watch. I'm going to watch this game. I haven't watched a ton of Denver games. I know Bo Nix has had a terrible beginning. Now he's playing better. This is a playoff game, folks. All arrows point to Denver. But, man, this is going to be tough, man. Do the Colts pull it to Richardson? Who do I actually think can play? But you know what? I'm going to go Denver at home just because of I'm just going to go altitude. Colts on the road in the altitude. Give me Denver. Just that's all the best. Not based off of anything, any science, just based off of that.
I'm going Denver here. I think Denver is just a better team, personally, especially on both sides of the ball. And I really like what I've been seeing from Bo Nix. I think he's getting better and better as the season progresses. The 4.5 is a good spread though, but I'm going to take Broncos here. I think Broncos win by 5 or like a touchdown. I don't see it being a blowout in any means. But I do think they just barely cover. I'm with you. I'm going to watch this game. This is going to be a fun one. But yeah, especially at home, Denver, they got a big home field advantage. So I'm going to go to Denver here as well.
Must see TV.
All right. We got the New England Patriots at the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona, a team. They still got a lot to play for. They're still technically in the hunt. They need a lot of things to go their way. So they're going to be playing full strength. New England, rebuild team. This even Gerard Mayo even said it. He's like, look, guys, this is a rebuild year. And when your coach says that, that kind of shows the quality of what the team is currently. I got Arizona at home with the -4.5.
Yeah. Give me Arizona. I think we're playing well. Kyler Murray's having a productive year. Arizona at home. Easy.
All right. Another playoff game right here. Big game. 4:00 window is going to be insane. So you guys better have like 3 TV screens up or figure something out because we got YouTube Tampa. TV. Yeah, get the YouTube TV with the multi-view or whatever. But we got Tampa Bay at the Los Angeles Chargers. Tampa +3.5, Chargers -3.5. Now, Gabe, this is a tough one to pick. Who do you got?
Man, I like the Chargers, man. I like Herbert, bro. He's just shaking people. I like the Chargers. They're going all the way west. Come on. Give me the Chargers. More than 3.
I'm gonna go with you. I've been a big Bucks guy this season, but I feel like the Chargers. A lot of people aren't talking about them. They're flying under the radar. But what Harbaugh has built over there, or building, it's getting really good. Him and Greg Roman, and what they've been able to do with the offense, and we're seeing all the Chargers need to do this next offseason is get some weapons, get some more weapons around them. They're going to be a really good team as the years go by, but I like the Chargers this year as well. I think what kills me is the 3, because Bucks keep games close, man. And a lot of those games are determined by a field goal. If it was a 3.5, that'd make me lean maybe towards the Bucks to get within 3. I do think the Chargers win. It's just a matter of how much. But I'm gonna go Chargers by 4. I think they just cover. I think they just get over it. Quite honestly, I wish there's a 0.5 point in there because that would change my mind on a lot of things if it was a 2.5 or 3.5. Because I do think this game's going to go by a field goal, 100%. It might be a wash. I think this line's definitely going to move to a 0.5 point. So, anyways, let's go to battle of the top teams. This could be a potential Super Bowl matchup. You never know. It could happen. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers at Philadelphia, in-state, not necessarily rivals, but in-state teams. The Battle of Pennsylvania. We got Philadelphia -5.5, Pittsburgh +5.5 at Philly. That's going to be a crazy stadium.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of pity fans in there for sure. Because I don't know what the drive is. What is that, like a 3.5 hour drive? Maybe. Pittsburgh fans already travel as it is. Interstate. That's going to be a fun atmosphere.
Give me the Eagles. They've been playing well. I think they're a hot team. Steelers have had a pretty good season. Give me the Eagles at home. I'll just take the home team, the home favorite. That's pretty easy for me to pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Eagles to cover because I don't know what Pittsburgh Steelers team we're going to get. More specifically, what Russell Wilson are we going to get? Because this could be a game where Russ he doesn't look his best. He struggles, and I have a feeling that might happen. I trust Eagles offensively. But then again, we saw the Ravens I think at the time was the best offense in the league, and they couldn't beat a Pittsburgh team that only scored field goals. So this is a tough one. Let's go either way. I'm going to say Philadelphia wins, but I'm taking the Pittsburgh 5.5. I think Pittsburgh lose by a field goal.
Okay.
All right. Next game. Another 4:00 window, Gabe.
Should be fun.
Buffalo versus Detroit. This is going to be a game. This is going to be the Rams-Buffalo game 2.0. This is going to be another one. 40 plus points for each team. Detroit -1.5. Buffalo +1.5. Detroit pretty much just getting that home field advantage for the odds.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Detroit here. Detroit wins by 2 points. They barely get in. I think they win by 2 points. It's going to be close. This could be a
give me
Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah,
This is a Super
it
Bowl
could
matchup,
be.
man.
Could be. Give me the Bills, man. Bills indoors. Give me the Bills. I think the Bills
Bills
winning.
indoor and
Bills can't.
Detroit. Man,
I think the Bills winning on the road.
This week is
Josh
wild.
Allen, man. Every week he has crazy highlights. I've been trying to push for my man Lamar Jackson MVP, but it seems like the last 4 weeks, every week, Josh Allen has some crazy highlights, some crazy run. I mean, he's having a month. So give me the Bills.
While Buffalo's had Josh Allen, Detroit's had the whole damn offense.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody on that team is scoring touchdowns.
Tails,
like they got the whole gang in town, and they're watching that team is so fun to watch. Gosh, that's gonna be one of those. This 4:00 window is wild. I'm gonna have to put up multiple screens for this. But and then we got Sunday night game, another big matchup. Green Bay at Seattle. Seattle plus 2.5 as the home dogs. Green Bay minus 2.5. This might be the game that Los Angeles needs. Gabe, who do you got?
Oh man, this should be fun. Packers on the road. I can see them winning, man. I feel like the Seahawks, they win, but they always win it close. They always keep, like you said, I think you said earlier, they keep it closer than they should. I think the Packers probably are the better team. I can see the Packers just winning straight out, more than 3 points.
I'm going to go with you.
I can see them winning by a touchdown.
I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say Packers win this game. I like this Packers team, man. They're so good defensively. Okay, I'm back. They're so good defensively, and then also offensively. Jordan Love, he's been playing really well since he's been healthy back from injury. I like this Packers team a lot. They're a team, I think. I mean, we saw this last week against the Lions. It was one hell of a game, a really fun game to watch. I just think they're at another level than what the Seahawks are. So I'm going Packers here. All right, and then we're going to end it off on Monday Night Football. Or we got 2 Monday night games. Not the most appealing ones, sadly, but we got the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota minus 7.5, Bears plus 7.5. I'm saying it, man. I'm saying it. Sam Darnold, MVP.
Really?
Right.
He's had a great season. He's having a great season.
Right. If he can continue on the path that last week had an amazing game. He can finish out the rest of the season playing as well as he has that last game. There's a serious conversation about Sam Darnold being MVP. I don't care what anybody says. He has to be in the conversation. You don't put him in the conversation. That's just disrespectful.
Offensive player.
Most improved.
Nah, I think it's going to be probably. Maybe. I mean, you could probably make an argument. I mean, I'd love to hear the argument.
It's going to be hard for him to actually win it because he's just not going to have the name power. But he has to be in the conversation if he can. As long as he plays at the level, continues to play this level these last 4 games, he's definitely in there. But as for the game itself, I got Minnesota here. The Bears, just fired Eberflus. Their season's done. They finally are going to go into the offseason probably shaking things up in the front office and coaching staff. So I think Minnesota with how hot they're riding right now, and I think Minnesota's looking at that Detroit-Buffalo game and thinking, hey, we could probably get into that first seed because as it stands right now, Minnesota, for the record they have, to be in a wild card is crazy. It's pretty insane that Minnesota has that record. And look, I'm drawing Minnesota 11-2 and their 5th seed. Isn't that wild? That is insane. So I think if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, you're going in this game because you're like, hey, look, man, there's a good possibility Detroit loses. Detroit lose, Minnesota could sneak right up in there and get into that first slot because they're fighting for that bye week, even though they're in the wild card seat. So
yeah, give me the Vikings, man. Vikings at home, easy. Vikings easy.
All right, now let's do the Atlanta Falcons at the Las Vegas Raiders. Atlanta minus 4.5 is the road favorites. Las Vegas plus 4.5. I'm gonna keep it easy. I think Atlanta wins for it.
Yeah,
they cover.
Atlanta should win.
The Raiders are bad.
The Atlanta
Raiders
should win
are
this game,
bad.
but I wonder about the flu, man. I wonder if the Las Vegas flu is a thing. Do they keep them out? Do they keep these guys 2 hours away from the actual Las Vegas, or do they get in there? Atlanta should win that game. You should.
Yeah. And that's it, man. That's our picks and predictions, and that's it for the episode. I want to thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. We greatly appreciate it. And we will see you guys next week. And check us out on all our audio platforms. And if you are on the audio platforms listening to us, go check out our YouTube channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe, follow, like, whatever. You know what to do. Everybody's been doing it for a while now. So, yeah, and we'll catch you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.